I said it loud enough because I didn't have
Yes.
a mic,
Yep.
Right.
but I knew it would be picked up by him, and I knew that we got something if he has a good reaction.
Hello, welcome to Sidewalk Talk, Shovel the Sidewalks podcast, where this season, season three, we are going to be talking about what we are calling stories about stories. Shovel the Sidewalk specializes in storytelling, and we are going to tell our side of the story, of a story that we've told. And today we're going to be covering this past year, Jamie and Steve went down to South Carolina for one of our customers, Goose Creek Rural Fire Department. They One of the videos that they ended up coming up with was a capital improvement video for the company. They're volunteers. They rely heavily on donations and grants. So we wanted to highlight them and kind of show off what they needed and allow them to tell the story of why they need it. Um, so, guys, did you kind of, when you first went there, did you guys know you were going to be making a video about like kind of asking for some capital, or did it kind of come up while you guys were there? And was it oh yeah, we absolutely can do that. Let's set aside an hour or so to kind of go through that. What was like the approach? Was it pre-planned or did it kind of come up while you guys were there?
No, the subject was we knew that was something we have an agenda. We try to get, 1 year's worth of content and 1 year's worth of stories in 3, 4 days that we're there.
Mhm.
So that was one of the subjects that we knew we wanted to cover. But what we didn't know was how we were going to do the story or how it was going to be created. We really hadn't figured it out. So, James, I think we just kind of, we'd probably been through quite a few stories already. And then I think we just decided on the spot how we were going to do it.
Yeah, it just kind of happened naturally. I think we
Yeah.
were done like recording a couple of spotlights. We had that like break in between, and then all of a sudden, Chief was talking with us about maybe showing off the station so somebody could actually visualize what's needed for this capital improvement.
Well, yeah, I mean, we did decide. So there's so many ways to do something like this, and the standard or typical way would be use a voiceover,
Mm.
talk about the history of the station because I think that department started in 1973. It's got a strong history, a lot of legacy. There's a lot of it's a very close, tight-knit group, right? You become
Mhm.
family when you're part of that volunteer fire department. And so then you could use animation, you could see, you could show statistics and dollar figures and walk through all of that and, have a real fancy pre-produced um, piece. But, we decided, why don't we just continue on the track that we've been going through?
Mhm.
And that is just, let's just go first person. Who better to tell the story of the department and the needs of the department than Chief? So we just had Chief Maibach kind of be like Vanna White, and it was it was a live to tape. It was, all right, Chief, let's go. And Chief just, it was like if he could have every politician, every local politician or every local business owner or even every resident, if he could have them there, give us that 1 hour, Chief, and give us the tour and tell us everything that's on your mind. And so he just walked us through it. And Jamie stayed on it. He had a wireless mic. I made sure Jamie didn't get run over by a fire truck, but I didn't ask too many questions, right? We just said, Chief, take us through the pains because
Yeah, I think you
this
asked
is,
one question.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got to realize, so for the last 4 or 5 years, since we've been on board, we've been asking people to volunteer, and the community has come through strong, right? So great people volunteering, but to keep this and to continue to serve the community and save people's lives, they need money. So what should we do? You should ask. So let's ask for money. Ask the community. The idea is create this story and then take the link, get it out there in the public, but he can also email it out to politicians or all the business owners that he knows. So that was the idea, was just let Chief walk us through not only the history, but and then the problems, okay, take us through the pain points, and then what how could we solve that with the money? What would you do with it? And so he just kind of walked us through. Well, it was about 1 hour kind of thing, and we took the 8 minutes of highlights and turned it into an 8-minute story of just Chief walking us through.
And I think sometimes, like, because the goal of that, right, was to ask for donations. I think sometimes when people, are asked to donate, they really don't know what money is going towards. What is the money actually going towards? And really, what Chief accomplished with this was showing us visually all of the things that needed to be done within the station. So one thing that really stood out was like the shower area with the pliers that
Yeah.
were used to turn on the shower.
It's small stuff, but I'm glad somebody pointed that out to me. They didn't. You see, we're using a pair of channel locks to manipulate the water. I mean, these are things that we got to fix, and we can fix things, but at a certain point, fixing doesn't solve the problem.
Or a room that's just stacked up with beds, and that was the sleeping area for these volunteers to be able to just stay overnight. Remote workers that would have their laptops with them, but really not a place of silence to be able to get their work done. So I think, like, the end user, somebody that's within the community that watches this video, not even talking about a politician or somebody in government that would provide the money, but just a regular, everyday, average citizen could see this and be like, okay, this is where my donation would actually, this is what it would do for the station.
That's a great point. I mean, when I used to do radiothons, telethons back in my broadcasting days, we would always try to come up with what exactly, when the community donates to this particular cause, what is that money going to go towards? And it always helps. It's a visual. All right. In this situation, there was a lot of different things. And I think I don't know if I think you and I were doubtful, which happens sometimes. You're like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to be a real good story here, and you just try to keep working it or whatever. But I think while Chief was taking us around, and you mentioned the beds, where with sleeping quarters, when some guy, first, it's fire department, people have to stay there overnight. Fires happen 24/7, right?
Yeah.
And some of the guys actually live there. There's a few of them that live there, and when he showed us the one living quarter, I knew that it was a partial soundbite, a partial thought, and it needed more. So this is the one time, and usually we like the main, we'll call it, character of the story, the hero of the story, Chief, whoever it is in this situation, Chief, to tell the story. But in this one, I knew we needed the producer, we needed me, we needed the person that's been having a conversation with him to actually, the audio to be on camera. So I spoke loudly and asked him to repeat himself. I can't remember what I said, but something
Like
like,
somebody
so
lives
somebody
there?
Yeah,
actually
somebody-
lives
Somebody
here.
actually
So
lives
Yeah.
there?
I said it loud enough because I didn't have a mic,
Yep.
Right.
but I knew it would be picked up by him, and I knew that we got something if he has a good reaction.
Another private space, if you can call it that, semi-private. But this is what we've got.
That someone lives there.
Someone lives there.
And he had a great reaction. The
Yep.
Chief was actually really good, really well spoken, right?
Absolutely.
And so he was like, yeah. And this is the example of, it's not always, even when he was taking us through in the shower, when you mentioned the pliers or whatever on the thing, it was just the way he was saying things. He was, you could feel his passion for the problem, and his passion for what could solve these problems. And then when it moved on to remote working, right, with
Mhm.
uh, uh, um, is he deputy chief, the assistant chief, Corey Dickerson?
Corey Dickerson, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so when he was talking about remote workers, so it's since 2020, a lot of things have changed. And so you remember these are volunteers. So this guy's an accountant and he volunteers at the fire station. Well, a lot of people's work now is a lot of their work is remote, or they can work remotely. They don't
Mhm.
have to always go in the office. They can go in the office. So maybe it's a hybrid. And his point is if he can work remotely at the fire station, then he could volunteer more often. So they wanted that workspace where people can come in and work remotely. And then if there's obviously an emergency, they'll go out on the call. But if they can't work remotely, then they can't come in and volunteer. I
Right.
thought that was pretty powerful when those guys were talking about that. Well, and then also even the part when they were discussing, it's not easy to go out on these calls. You see some bad things,
Yeah.
and there's no space to just come back and decompress and get your thoughts and maybe be ready for the next unfortunate call or just to go home, and they don't really have a space. And I thought that was really they're able to help you the way they were talking because it wasn't scripted.
Hmm.
It really made you, I don't want to say visualize, but comprehend and understand the pains and get emotionally connected. Because if you emotionally connect, then you tend to act. To get people to do what you want them to do, you want to connect with them emotionally.
Mhm.
So we connect emotionally, and in this situation, we want people to donate money. And so I thought everyone we talked to was able to do that, and that was just having conversations instead of it being scripted.
Yep. And I think sometimes, when you're asking for money or you're asking for change, you got to take a step back. And I thought that's why the history of the station was so important that Chief was really explaining, like, when this first started, it was like this, but we're growing. We have more volunteers, so we need to expand a little bit more. And it's tough, right? Because you want to have the community help you out and get more volunteers, but if you're at a max capacity with holding the amount of people within the station, well, what do you do? At this point, you need to improve the station, right? Add more rooms. Just make sure that there's, like we talked about before, sleeping quarters so people are comfortable. And I think the goal was met with this video. Somebody watching this, they can have an idea of where Goose Creek was, where they're at, and where they need to be. We need to bring them to a future state. Hence why we call it the capital improvement video.
I think it's well, because I didn't go, but even watching it, I think it's a really good example of show, don't tell, where someone could say the living quarters are too small. Someone could say that there's a broken shower handle. And if you get told that, you feel bad, but then you kind of move on. But if you see that living quarter, or if you see the broken shower handle or the kitchen, it sticks with you and you think about it even more because you have that visual and it just kind of sits in the back of your mind where let's say you're going to bed and you have a nice queen bed and you're laying down in it, you think about, oh man, those guys have to sleep in a bunk bed in a small room. And by showing what they have to go through rather than Steve was saying earlier, having a voiceover graphic or something like a different type of video that allows it to connect emotionally, but you also start to have sympathy as well. And I think that's really important when you have videos like this where you are asking for help. And look, I'm telling you we need help, and here's why we need help. And I thought it was a really powerful video where I'm living in, the north, like several states up, and I'm still thinking about that still, like what what's going on around here that maybe we need help with. I think it's just a really powerful tool, and I think the show Don't Tell works incredibly well for this situation.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like we always talk about what makes a good video is good audio.
Hmm.
Video comes second.
Hmm.
Photography comes second to the audio. And I think this is one of those situations where video played a really, really important role. But I also believe that without Chief, the video still would suck. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Without him
Yeah,
being himself
right.
and just telling us like it is, it wouldn't have been as strong. Because even when we're showing the players, it's not a voiceover player, right? It's just Chief going, look at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his reaction, right, is like, this is like what, I actually, the other, I don't, maybe, I still think the sleeping quarters was my favorite, just his reaction. Really, I thought really powerful was a simple thing was the laundry. What he helped us realize a lot of these
Yeah.
volunteers are also career firefighters. Okay. So they go and they go do their job, which happens to be as a firefighter. And then they come here to volunteer. And so when they get there, they're not smelling good
Yeah.
because they've been out fighting fires, right?
Hmm.
And Chief's reaction was like, "There's no room here. They got one washer and dryer. We need better facility." Remember the tiny with a tiny little like square area that he was at.
I
Like,
do, yeah.
this is it. This is where
Yep.
these guys need clean. They need to be able to clean their clothes. I thought
They
that was
need a
really
commercial
powerful.
style washing machine.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what they
that's where he was
need.
going. Yeah, it was. So that was, you know, but we didn't expect any of that,
No.
right? That wasn't planned. The plan was once we put it together was okay, just take us through and just talk because
Yeah.
he had talked to us passionately about it when we're on our meetings with him through Zoom or
Yeah.
whatever. And when we were there, it was on the list of subjects to cover. But we knew he had passion for it. He obviously had a lot of knowledge, and he really so, but we didn't know the detail. We didn't know there were going to be players in the shower. We didn't know that. That just happened. And because we were recording, it gave us the live tour feeling.
Hmm.
He had the whole community with him, and he was able to say, "Look at this, got players. Look at this. These guys got to live here. Look at this. They can't even wash their clothes." You know. So I thought that was really powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got me thinking about like how the subject, the leader of the video, really dictates how it's gonna go. And I would be curious to know how it would have worked with somebody else. But Chief has also been in a position for a while where he has seen changes, and he knew where it was before and where they're at now and where they need to be. So he did a really good job, and that was like an example of us. We had a plan, we had an idea, but we didn't know it was going to be that good. Like this video really stands out to me in terms of, um, when we sit down and we talk about goals of a video. All right, who is going to watch this? Who's going to consume this, and what are they going to do? This one's in my top for sure because it's not just the community; it's the people in charge of money, the government.
Yeah. Do you think by not having something fully scripted and you guys just rolling live, do you think that also allows kind of more things that just naturally come out, such as, let's say you guys talk about it in a meeting where you wanted to cover the kitchen and sleeping quarters, but since you guys were rolling and live and just walking around, he's like, oh, check out the laundry. Was he able to, like, when he was going through, did you kind of notice him thinking about it more and more because he was just in his environment and looking around and stuff like that? Just I kind of thought about that when you guys were talking about how once you just hit record and just let him go, I think that also kind of allows him to not worry about hitting those certain spots and just be himself and talk about what's going on around him as a whole, because it's just more natural of his environment, just constantly being in it. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good learning experience. Why not just go raw, go through it, record live to tape, and you'll know what you have.
Mhm.
And then if you need to go back and do it a different way, you can go back. So we happened to strike gold. It would not have been as good had we walked through and said, all right, chief, show us everything. And he said, okay, now here's the bathroom. Oh yeah, okay. Let's make sure we cover the bathroom.
Mhm.
Here's the living quarters. Let's make sure we talk about the living quarters. Um, it wouldn't have been as good. Right, Jane? I mean, it was better because it was raw. It
He
was
was in a
first time
flow
through.
state. Yeah, he was in a flow state. Like we said before, it was like one question asked. This was not a back and forth typical conversation that we'll have with somebody when they're sharing their story. This one, he was on a mission. He knew what he wanted to talk about, and we just let him do his thing. In that situation, you take an hour, hour and a half of footage, and you make it to a length that's consumable. I mean, yeah, that could have been an hour long video. We brought it down to 8 minutes, but we just let him do his thing. And again, we're always going to go back to authenticity. We didn't tell him what to say. We didn't like sit down and strategize about this for an hour. We just wanted to come up with the goal for this. And it was pretty simple. There was really no overthinking involved. The thinking really came after, when it came to like
Mhm.
scripting the video. But I think in these type of moments when you keep it simple and you just let someone talk and share their passion, these are when the best stories happen because there's not too much thinking involved. He was in a flow state. He knew what he wanted to show in terms of what needed to be improved, and we were just there following him like it
Yeah.
was a typical tour. Like if we had a whole audience with us just walking around and following him, that's what it felt like. Especially if you watch the video right now, you feel like you're a part of this tour, and if you're somebody that could possibly help, you would feel compelled to. So
Also, I think you mentioned putting the story together afterwards. Obviously, most of our work comes after, right, in these situations. So when we were in post-production writing the story and re-editing, um, I don't know if we realized it during the recording, but obviously you have to go through and watch the whole thing and get them. Um, I'm almost positive we didn't realize it because I remember hearing it saying, "Oh, that's really good." He really talked about, I don't know, the culture, the care that these guys have, the guys and gals there that they have for the facility and for what they do. And so when I realized I didn't want it just to be a bitch fest, "Well, that sucks and this sucks and we need this." You
yeah.
need to create the pain, and
Mhm.
then you need to create what would solve the pain, which would be money, and then what solving it would do, which we were talking about different quarters and, not having a wrench, because that will also help with recruitment of new people. If people come in and see a wrench in the shower, it's not exactly great for recruitment. It will also help with retention. Tired of this, I go to my firehouse where I work for a career. It's nicer than coming in here. But also he was talking, he talked, he showed like a painting that the one guy did on the wall of their what do you call it, the shield,
Oh, like a
the engine.
badge or?
Yeah, the badge. Is that what
Okay.
that is? Yeah, the
I don't
badge.
know.
And it's on the wall in their training room.
Okay.
And we put that in there because we thought that this is pretty cool. In fact, I think we ended it with that and talking about how one of the volunteers came in. I think it was he's an artist, and he painted this, drew it, and then painted it on the wall. Why? Because he has a passion, he cares. And these guys care for this facility. They care for what they're doing. And they're being the Goose Creek difference, right? Be the
Right.
Goose Creek difference is their slogan. And then when you create a video like this, the idea is for you to be the Goose Creek difference as well by getting involved, by giving what you can. So for a capital improvement campaign. But I think, yeah, we added a couple, I want to say at the end of things that not lightened up the story, but showed that these people, it's not just a handout. They really, they have they're they're special people, and that their
Mhm.
goal is to save their neighbors. That's what they do,
Yeah.
and so it kind of gave us a little bit of an insight of to who these people are. because it's not just about updating the building. It's about, the people that are going to be in the building, which are the people that are going to save your life, possibly save your life.
Yeah. I think that video also kind of did a good job of putting into perspective what they actually have to go through. So I don't think sometimes people realize how people live at the fire station where they're doing the cooking in the kitchen and they're doing laundry. It was a really good way to kind of open your eyes to the situation. Um, so I found that very interesting. And it allowed you to, like you guys were saying, you connect with them as individuals because you feel like you know them more and you sympathize with them. So I thought that video did a really good job of that, of kind of hitting that target audience that you guys were aiming for. So what do you think the kind of lesson of this video was? Um, Looking back at it, watching it, thinking about everything that we've already talked about. Jamie, what do you think it might be? Or what do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, the lesson of the video, I would say, you don't know what you don't know.
Hmm.
And these are special people. These are heroes. These are men and women who put their lives on the line every day, and they're not getting paid for it. They're volunteers. So the community, whatever they can do with donating, if they can't donate their time to volunteer, they could donate capital to be able
Hmm.
to improve, because it's made up of businesses, individuals in their homes. In Goose Creek Rural Fire Department, they ensure that the city is safe uh, if disaster does happen. So it was a great way for Chief to really put the message out there
Hmm.
for anyone to consume the video. Again, I think it was really powerful for somebody in leadership and government to be able to see where that money would go. But I also think, like, with the community, your regular, everyday, average person can just donate whatever they have in order to improve Goose Creek Rural Fire Department's building and really help the individuals that volunteer there.
And, so one thing I kind of took away from the video after watching it and seeing how you guys did it, the idea of shooting for over an hour and condensing it down is kind of doubling down on that. You don't need to have a script to make the video good. You just gotta have the passion that Chief did. And if you can capture that passion with video and sound, where the perfect example is living quarters, where after Steve says, people actually live here, he turns and he just looks like almost like defeated and says, yeah, people live here. And it's just moments like that kind of go along with that idea that you don't need the script, that you can't script out Chief turns and sighs and says, yeah, I can't believe this. It was all very raw and captured. And because you guys kept rolling, even though you might have thought you didn't have anything, we were able to get, gold like that works really well for the video.
Yeah, I would say the lesson is don't overthink it.
Hmm.
Just do it. Just record.
Yeah.
You don't have to use what you record. Just use it. It's not like the old days where you have to pay for film and,
Yeah, that's a
you
good
know,
point.
just record it. Record it and see what you got. If it requires a conversation, have a conversation. If you have someone like we had, which was Chief just on a roll, leave him
Hmm.
alone. Just get out of the way. I think about, I love sports and
Hmm.
I used to be a sportscaster, and in play-by-play, the best get out of the way, right? If it's TV, there's not a lot you need. A radio, you got to describe, right?
Yeah.
But in TV, Joe Carter hits the game-winning home run in Game 7 of the 1993 World Series for the Blue Jays. I think it was touch 'em all, Joe, and then shut your pie hole and let it happen. Right? Just let it happen. Get out
Yeah.
of the way. Let the end user consume the emotion and whatever they see. Let's hear the audience. Let's watch the celebration. So same with this. Or in football, or in baseball. The umpire did a good job when you didn't notice him. you
Mm,
know, so I think it's just, don't worry about it. Just do it. Go for it. If you're unsure, press record. Press record and just go and see what you got. And you'll know when you have something, because we knew as we got going, we got something here. Let's just let them go. Let's
There you
keep
go.
going.
Awesome. Well, I like this one. I think it's a really good video, and I think that you guys did a really good job of kind of capturing everything that you guys needed to with that video. Um, so thank you so much for listening. This has been episode 2 of season 3, Stories About Stories, here on Sidewalk Talk. I look forward to speaking with you next time.